everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we're tackling something that affects every one of us, whether you're a student, a teacher, a parent, or just someone who is still haunted by the art teacher who told you your sunset looked like a nuclear weapon. Our topic today is creativity and education. Does the educational system kill this creativity? Some people think it absolutely does, that it takes kids who are naturally curious, spontaneous, and imaginative and drills the joy right out of them until they are tired adults with a decent typing speed. Others argue the system is misunderstood, that it provides structure, discipline, and even a launch pad for creative thinking. But who's right? Let's dissect this beast. First of all, what exactly is creativity? Creativity is often defined as the ability to produce something that is both novel and useful. It is not just about painting or playing the guitar. It includes solving problems in unique ways, designing new products, seeing connections where others don't. Psychologist Csikszentmihalyi, yes, go ahead and Google the name. That is her name. Described creativity as the ability to enter a state of flow, where we are so engaged in an activity that we lose track of time. Howard Gardner, the father of multiple intelligence, argued that creativity isn't a single thing. There is musical creativity, spatial creativity, interpersonal creativity, and logical creativity. So it's not about being an artist, it's about how you think. So when we say the education system kills creativity, we're not just talking about fewer kids becoming poets. We're talking about the decline of curiosity, independent thinking, and the ability to innovate across the board. Let's take a short trip back to the 19th century. The modern education system was designed during the Industrial Revolution. Factories needed punctual, obedient, literate workers. So schools became little factories, desks in rows, bells, uniforms, memorization, tests, obedience. Fast forward to today, and while we've updated the tech, smart boards instead of chalk, tablets instead of notebooks, the structure hasn't changed much. We're still largely training students to be compliant and productive, not necessarily curious and inventive. Sir Ken Robinson, one of the fiercest critics of the system, said, "We are educating people out of their creative capabilities." He argued that schools prioritize conformity and penalize originality. His TED Talk, "Do Schools Kill Creativity?" is still the most watched of all time. I think it's over 75 million views now. Why all of those views though? Because it resonates deeply. Let's talk about something very important. Creativity declines with age. Psychologist George Land conducted a study with NASA to identify the most creative thinkers. His test for divergent thinking, the ability to think of lots of possible solutions, was given to kids. Here are the results. At age 5, 98% scored in the creative genius category. By age 10, only 30% did. By age 15, just 12% did. By adulthood, a depressing 2%. So what happened? Most of these kids went through school. Standardized testing, strict curriculum, and rigid grading system tend to discourage experimental and risk-taking. Two key elements of creativity. And remember, creativity requires the freedom to be wrong. But in school, being wrong usually leads to a red pen, a lower grade, and a trip to the principal's office. Let's play a game. Guess who didn't do well in school? Albert Einstein. Did he or not? Teachers said he was slow and mentally handicapped. Thomas Edison. Called difficult by teachers and removed from school. Steve Jobs. Dropped out of college. Called education stifling. Walt Disney. Fired from a newspaper job for lacking creativity. Lady Gaga was told she was too dramatic. These are just a few of the people who reshaped their industries, yet flopped or clashed in formal education. What does that tell us? The success and creativity often flourishes in spite of the system, not because of it. Now let's balance this out. Let's be fair. Schools aren't all bad. They are not creativity's mortal enemy. Schools teach structure and a routine, which some students thrive on. They expose kids to a range of subjects: math, science, literature, languages. This gives students a chance to find their passion. Collaboration, group projects, and social learning helps develop interpersonal intelligence. Newer teaching methods like project-based learning and the flipped classroom do encourage exploration. And let's not forget about teachers. Some teachers are modern-day superheroes, sneaking creativity into the cracks of a very rigid system. Finland's school system, for example, allows teachers more autonomy and doesn't focus heavily on standardized testing. And guess what? Their students consistently rank among the most creative, highest performing globally. So maybe the problem isn't education itself, but how we've organized it and scaled it. Here is a plot twist. Constraints don't always kill creativity. Sometimes they spark it. Think about it. A blank page is terrifying, but a writing prompt, a challenge, a word limit, that's when people get clever. In fact, studies show that some of the best innovations happen under constraint. The 48-hour film festival, the 6-word memoir, TikToks under 60 seconds. Picasso once said, if you have 5 elements, use only 4. If you have 4, use 3. So maybe the problem isn't structure, it's excessive structure, or worse, pointless structure. Let's zoom out a little bit. In Japan, rote memorization is king, but they also have moral education and emphasis on group responsibility. In South Korea, students score high academically, but stress and burnout are major issues. In Finland, there is no homework school until teens, short school days, and focus on creative thinking. Different systems, different outcomes. But the one that is increasingly praised is Finland's, where creativity isn't taught, it is allowed. Okay, so what's the solution here? Do we dismantle the whole thing and rebuild from scratch? Probably not. But here is what we can do. Prioritize creative subjects: art, drama, music, philosophy. Encourage failure. Make wrong answers part of the process. Let students ask questions, not just answer them. Redesign assessments, portfolios, presentations, podcasts, not just tests. Teach teachers to be creative facilitators, not just info deliverers. Or maybe swap a few algebra lessons with few courses on creativity, imagination, and improvisation. So let's wrap things up. Does the educational system kill creativity? Sometimes, yes, especially when it becomes obsessed with conformity and testing. But creativity isn't dead, it's just been grounded, maybe stuck in detention. But it's waiting. In every classroom doodler, in every bored kid daydreaming out of the window, in every student who asks, but why? Let's not kill that curiosity. Let's nurture it. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Until next time. Bye.